Okay, so great evening, and welcome to another episode of Stay Inspired with Shaw. Come right in, water is warm. This is a special episode tonight where we will have an invited guest on, discussing the ways to suppress, dealing with grief and stuff like that. So come right in. If you're watching live, you can drop an L in the comments. And if you're on the replay, you can definitely drop an R. Yes, you could also state which country you're tuning in from on this lovely evening. Come right in. The water is always warm in here. Yes. And if you have ever missed any of the episodes, I'm on Charlene Lewis 568 on YouTube, and I'm also on Stay Inspired with Shaw on IG. So you can get those insights on those wonderful topics. Okay, beautiful people? So, for those who may not know me, I'm Charlene Lewis, the inspirational host, and I help Christians and others who struggle with their spirituality, with God and their inner self, to go from being challenged to being inspired, helping them grow infinitely and spiritually so that they can be fulfilled to become the best icon version of themselves. Yes, that's what I do. Come right in. It's always my pleasure having each and every one of you all tuned in with me because you know why? You matter and mean a lot. Yes, you do. So, if you're struggling with your spirituality or your God given purpose, I'm here to, inspire you, helping you grow infinitely and to gain your purposeful self and to have those clarities and with those inner thoughts you may have. Okay. So, in tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about building resilience in times of grief. And we have a special guest on, Miss Sonya Dungee, an amazing person, a storm survivor, a fabulous mother of three, a wonderful grandma of four, and a God given purpose person of encouragement, and also a transformation coach for the past 2 years. We now welcome Miss Sonya Dungee to the platform. Come right in, Sonya.
Great evening.
Great evening. Great evening. Come right in. So I welcome you. It's my honor to have you on Be Inspired with Shara this evening to share on this topic that we have tonight. You know, you are a boss warrior queen of strength and encouragement. And we would really like you to, share with our audience what your purpose that you gain, your purposeful self, and experience in your coaching. So,
Thank you.
Sonia, when did you experience some of um when did you experience grief um with someone dear to you?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to say thank you so much for having me on here tonight. You have an amazing platform and it is faith based, and I've seen transformation in you and I've seen it in others as a result. So keep doing what it is that you're doing. And it's amazing. And we're talking about resilience tonight. And I really admire your resilience because through the technicalities, you've hung in there to make this work tonight. So God bless you for that.
Thank you so
Uh,
much.
you're welcome. Great question. So um, it's sort of a multi answer to the question about when did I experience grief with someone dear in my life. I've experienced it on many occasions. From a young girl losing one of my best friends in a tragic accident to my children's godmother in her 20s passing from leukemia, to my abuela passing, my bonus mom passing, my dad, and more recently, my mother. But my mama was the first time I actually saw somebody pass on in front of me, and that was very difficult, and I swore I would never want to be in that predicament again ever, because it was it was beyond hurt. And my father, to see him go through his grief, I felt like I couldn't show my full grief because I was helping him through as best I could with his. So when my dad went to be with the Lord on January 23rd of 2021, which was 5 days short of his 83rd birthday, totally left field, didn't see it coming. 48 hours before, we were told that he had 6 months to live, and here I am making all of these preparations, and not even 48 hours later, I'm watching my dad take his last breath here on this earth and his first breath in heaven. So, um, to answer that question fully, that was 4 years ago.
Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I understand it, and despite it's a few years, well, I know that it's not an easy feeling, because it's just one mom and one dad, and I know that your time of healing would have been extended till present, even though you overcome, you may not have, have that full healing, because that's just one mom and one dad. Did you acknowledge your emotions and express them fully during this time?
I did not acknowledge my emotions and express them fully, because I felt that if I did, I would be selfish. I had my children; they were grieving. My son was very close to my dad. He was like a second dad to my son, and they would be hanging out in the middle of the night talking. My son was a truck driver, so they would have their guy conversations and whatnot. And I knew he was grieving and standoffish. My daughter couldn't handle it whatsoever. She couldn't see his truck parked outside, nothing. And so I didn't want to add to the grief that was already going on. And so I hid it and I suppressed it and I didn't talk about it. I just isolated myself from it.
It's understood. It's understood. How did you cope with reflecting on your strength patterns, navigating yourself to deal with this time?
Well, honestly, being fully transparent, for the first 342 days, and there's 365 in a year, so almost a year, I was just getting by. I was doing the bare minimal, of just getting up in the morning and washing my face, brushing my teeth, throwing my hair up, or showering, whatever I had to do, put on whatever, because I was working from home. It was the height of the pandemic. I would walk across my living room into my shishi room, shut the door, do my 7.5, 8 hour job, and then shut down and go back to isolation in my bedroom. Um, if I wasn't running to the cemetery for that feeling of closeness with my dad, I was isolating behind closed doors. So, and I was crying all the time. So I wasn't dealing with my emotions. I just couldn't at that time.
Yes, it would have been hard actually. Every time you remember your memories, it would have been harder to even face it. So that is understood. Did you have adequate support physically and mentally at this time, Sonia?
Um, yes, I had adequate support in terms of family and friends, but I opted not to lean on them for support during that time, because again, I didn't want to inflict the pain I was feeling on them, and so I suppressed it. And I know our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ would never give me more than I could handle, even when uh, even if I would have questioned why, but I didn't. Um, so I'm not going to say I didn't. I just didn't choose to seek that support then.
Yes. Was there any self care for you at this time?
There was no self care for myself. I did not care what I looked like. I just didn't care. I didn't focus. It wasn't that I woke up in the morning and said, I'm not going to care about myself, but I wasn't feeling like myself. So I wasn't going to the salon to get my nails done. I wasn't going for pedicures. I didn't, whatever Grace popped, they popped. I just did the bare minimum to just get by day to day.
Yeah, because I understand that you will have been feeling a lot of withdrawals that point in time. Did
Yes.
you allow your loved ones, like your family and friends, to provide emotional comfort and assistance thereafter?
I didn't. I eventually did, but for the first 342, for the first year, I just didn't. And again, because I didn't want to add that extra burden, I didn't want them to worry about me. I didn't want it to be about me. I think subconsciously, I didn't want anybody to forget about my father. And so I didn't want them to put their support in me and not think about my father. So the answer was definitely positively a no for me.
Wow, that's understood. Were you afraid to accept support from others and isolated yourself a lot?
It wasn't that I was afraid to accept the support. I just didn't want to share how I was truly feeling. I just didn't want to put that heartache on my family. So um, they tried. I'm not going to say that they didn't. And obviously, they realized a lot more than I thought. Because while I was isolated in my room and not really coming out, didn't want to go anywhere, didn't want to do anything, I wasn't spending time with my 3 grandchildren at the time. Now I'm blessed with 4. I wasn't hanging out with my daughters. I wasn't doing any of that. And in that came a time when there was a trip that was planned ahead of time, and I didn't want to go. And my sister, my bonus sister, that I love and adore, she had a conversation with me and told me to go because after her mom, my bonus mom, passed, my dad had that very same conversation with her because she was due to go on a trip a couple months after to St. Thomas, and she didn't want to go. So she could relate to how I was feeling. So she had conversations, and I went. But then again, I would have my moments. I'd isolate myself. I'd go in the bathroom. She told me, just, if you need to take some time, have your moment, and then go back with your friends. So that's what I did. And just a word to the wise: when you ask somebody how they're feeling and differently, but they tell you I'm okay, that's a good indication that they're not okay. Because every time somebody asked me how I was feeling, my answer was always the same: I'm okay.
Yeah, because you had a lot of masks on at that time. So
Mhm.
it was hard, you just wanted to just, you know, not be bothered. So if you told them yes, you would not be bothered. How
Correct.
did you start building resilience and suppressing your emotions?
Well, I had to shift my perspective. So after the 342 days of being stuck in the grief with no direction and no end in sight, and uh, my mindset went to, I can overcome this. I got this. Um, I can't do this by myself. And as we all know, willpower alone will never outdo your community. And so I had to invest in myself because all along I kept saying to myself, Daddy wouldn't want you to be like this. He wouldn't want you to grieve. He would want you to be happy. He would want you to move on. But I couldn't. And I know the kind of father I had and what he instilled in his children. And we're all overcomers. And so I couldn't keep doing that. It was selfish. So when enough became enough and I just knew I couldn't do it anymore, that's when I invested in myself. I sought out a mentor coach, which led me to my Be Iconic community. And in that, my perspective started to change. And it was, I know I have more life ahead of me than I have behind me. God left me here for a purpose when there were many a times when I wouldn't have been here. And so it was my duty to find what my true purpose was. And my dad came to me, and I heard his voice, and he kept saying, "Did you get the gift that I gave you?" And I figured it out. That was, I had to get myself together because there was voices that were waiting to hear from me. There was people that were waiting for me to lead them, to help them out of the isolation and out of the darkness. And so I changed my perspective and never looked back.
That was great because your story could have been shared to help someone else. So I guess they would appreciate that you helping them sharing your story. How did you embrace yourself spiritually during this time? And in what way would you share with the audience you help connect your spirituality with grieving?
So in the beginning, to be honest, my faith was tested. Um, but I held fast to the 23rd Psalm. And that was the very verse that my bonus mom, my mama, and my dad would read every night. And so I held on to the 23rd Psalm. I held on to Proverbs 3, 5, 6. And I just had to trust in the Lord with all my heart. And I knew that He led me down that path for a purpose. So when you're grieving, when someone is grieving, and it's not an easy process, there is no rule book, there is no manual, there's no how to, there's no set time limit in it. It's just the fact that you have to lean on your face and you have to trust in the Lord regardless, and just know that everything that you're going through is part of your story, and it's okay to move forward. You never forget. You still grieve from time to time, and you will go through grief again. I don't forget about my dad. If he's behind me in my pictures in the studio, he's always in my heart, he's in my mind, he's in my soul. But what better way is to share my story and move forward one day more, one step more than the day before, because I know that there's others that are either going in a storm, or coming out of a storm. And just as I was stuck in grief and hardship and the despair and the brokenness and the darkness, and I didn't know who to turn to or what to say or what to do, I didn't know that there was platforms when and mentors that I could uh, tune into. And so that is part of my purpose, and that is why I was able to connect spiritually, and that's the reason why I go hard every single day and I show up, because I never want anybody to ever go through the grief the way that I did, that I didn't have to, but I didn't know better. And when you don't know better, you don't do better.
That's so true. How did you inspirationally transform your grief and found emotional resilience?
That's another great question. I had the mindset that I knew that I was here in life for a purpose. As you all know, we beat out 299 million to be here. That's a scientific fact. So I knew that no matter what I've gone through in life, God never has given me more than I can handle. And so I just started allowing myself to feel, to feel the grief, to feel those emotions, instead of suppressing them. That's the biggest thing, is you have to allow yourself to feel. Because if you suppress it, you're going to be like me. I was stuck in grief for 342 before I made a conscious decision to do anything about it. And my willpower got me nowhere. So in that, I started getting those positive connections. I gave myself the grace that I needed, which is God's riches at Christ's expense. And I started to spend time with my family, my friends, and started talking about my dad. and being honest and open about how I was truly feeling. And some didn't know how to react. So, in essence, I was also teaching them how to react and that it's okay if you don't know what to say.
That's so awesome and strong of you, Sonya.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you sharing with our audience um, this time that you had to deal with in your life. And it's great to have a lot of resilience doing this because it's not an easy journey um, going through grief. I mean, we wear a lot of masks, you know, to overcome, but it's always better when we share and we, could help someone else with our story.
Yes.
So I want to thank you a lot for tuning in with our audience here at Stay Inspired with Shaw. We do appreciate you, and we do appreciate you being vulnerable tonight with us. And with God's blessing, I know you'll keep your gift of encouragement going to continue sharing with others on your journey as a transformation coach. And as I say, stay blessed and wonderful as you are. And I thank you again for tuning in with us.
Yes. Thank
So, audience, you have
you
heard
so much.
the steps and the ways Sonia shared with us. And I would like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. So, have a great night. And till next time on Stay Inspired with Shaw, have a great evening. Bye for now.